Ronaldo and Lil Wayne, Piers Morgan and Dillon Danis. Two collaborations which the world did not expect, but the world needed. Today we'll be discussing the recent interview between Piers Morgan and Dillon Danis. Now, this was very unexpected. Now, we have been blessed with this interview where Piers Morgan politely rips into Dillon Danis, and of course this is post-fight, so all the questions are going to be related to the recent boxing match against Logan Paul. Now, before we get into this, I'm not really into influencer boxing. I think it's kind of cringe, but I was aware of this fight. It was somewhat of a guilty pleasure to actually watch it. Of course, I didn't pay for it. I watched it afterwards.
About the fight, it didn't feel like a fight. I feel like he was running away. Every time I tried to engage with him and try to get in there and like trade, he would run away.
Dillon here, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know if he was seeing the same fight I was, but all I saw was his two fists in the air hiding from Logan's punches. This guy must have got battered so much that he lost his memory. I actually don't recall Logan running away, and just to put it out there,
you landed scared. 9 punches in 6 rounds.
Yeah,
9 punches in 6 rounds is unheard of. No joke. I can't lie. That whole event had 2 world records. Number 1 with the amount of hugs which occurred. Number 2 was the least throws by an opponent. Landing 9 punches in 6 rounds. That is crazy. I think those 9 punches were majority on the security guard. I think all 9 of them. In fact, sorry, I'm wrong here. Got my data wrong. I think 8 of them were on the security guards, and 1 was actually on Logan himself. In fact, I know this because that one shot he landed, he's actually milked the hell out of. If you look on Twitter, it's just the same picture and over again. Just that single punch.
I mean, though, you're like I say, you're a world champion fighter.
Yeah.
Just seemed a little
world champion. I don't know what Piers is smoking. World champion. That's crazy. Calling Dillon Danis world champion is like calling me a professional boxer. It's just not true. It really isn't. He's good at jiu-jitsu, don't get me wrong. Let's take a step back here. Let's get off the A train and let's recalibrate our thoughts here.
Did over 1.3 million views, so.
How much money did you make from it?
A lot.
You haven't said how much?
I don't want to say a number, but a lot of money.
1.3 million views from a boxing perspective, if you're unaware, is actually quite a lot. 1.3 million, I think, is up there. It is up there for sure. Highest is Mayweather versus Pacquiao, and then second is Mayweather versus Gregor. I don't know, don't quote me on that. But 1.3 million pay-per-views is a lot. I think the highest is 4 point something. Yeah, but I was actually kind of shocked when he said 1.3.
No, MMA doesn't pay that well. That's why after this I'm going to the UFC. I want to go to the UFC. I think the UFC now will see my...
Now, Dillon here was talking about the UFC. After what he pulled at Misfits 10, I think, you are not getting in the UFC. Haven't fought proper jiu-jitsu in years, and then you're like, yeah, UFC. No. Dana White ain't gonna sign you because you're not a good fighter. To be fair, he is good at promoting fights. Like, this is the first proper fight he's promoted. I can't name you any other fights with him because the guy's been inactive, and trust me, I follow MMA and boxing and I'd have no idea who this guy's fought. He's just a keyboard warrior who just types and just calls people out. Like he's been calling Khabib Islam for years now.
The UFC guy.
But these boxers think they can fight.
It was actually very interesting.
Now, what I do have to say here is jiu-jitsu and boxing are 2 very different style of combat, They're 2 different sports with their own styles, and therefore to master them it takes years. You can't just go straight from boxing to jiu-jitsu and vice versa because it takes years to master it. Like one sport you can't use your legs, one sport you can. So going from somewhere like the UFC to boxing, there's a big difference, and that's why you see a lot of these UFC fighters lose, because although they practice their striking skills, it's not as developed as someone who does boxing, where the only weapon is their hand. In UFC, the weapon is your knees, your legs, your arms, your grappling skills. You have all these different options, where boxing, you just have basically one.
Beat any boxer, do you think?
All of them. Probably, I could probably do it in the same night. Like KSI, Logan, Jake, I could probably do back.
But what about the elite boxers, actual
easy, yeah,
top boxers?
easy.
What is my guy saying? In all seriousness, what is he saying? He's saying he can take real boxers and influencer boxers all in the same night. That's crazy.
You can learn 100 songs on the piano by learning just 4 chords.
I'm going to take you up on that offer.
Drake, the rapper.
Yeah, we're friends too. That hurt me.
Well, he bet on Instagram $850,000 on your opponent to knock you out.
Drake, we're friends, so I didn't like how he supported Logan.
Have you been in touch with him?
Nah, he has a new number now.
He pulled out the Uno reverse card, the classic excuse. Yeah, we're not in touch because he changed phone numbers. Why is he yapping for?
He's not a real fighter. He's an entertainer, you know? He's not built for this.
So Dylan, you lost to an entertainer. That's crazy, man. Do you know, after you take a loss, you just have to pack it in. You can't talk any more trash because you lost. Straight up, you lost. So the fact Dylan's gone on to Piers Morgan's show and just talk garbage is just so hysterical, because everyone knows the results. And even just looking at the comments, like, people were saying, you just can't do this because, like, you lost. It's simple as that. So you can't say I can beat him when a few days ago you're the one who got beat up. It don't make sense. What I'm about to show you now is Dylan's last brain cell. If you know anything about fighting, you're just going to be in disbelief right now.
You couldn't beat Khabib, could you?
Oh,
no one's
easy.
ever beaten Khabib.
I would beat Khabib.
But no one's beaten him.
Yeah, well, he hasn't fought me.
Why would you be able to beat him?
Because my jiu-jitsu is too good.
One minute ago, Dylan was basically talking about Conor McGregor being his master, being the person he looks up to. Khabib owned McGregor. He literally ruined McGregor's career. After he took that loss, McGregor's never been the same. Then you're coming at Khabib saying, I can take you on, I can win. Dylan here is like the panda from Kung Fu Panda, while McGregor's like Shifu. If Khabib beat Shifu, he can beat the panda. You know what I mean? Him calling out Khabib and Islam is just crazy. You can't win those fights. You've been calling them out for years.
I swear, I would fight all of them. I would fight John Jones.
Then he came out with this outrageous comment. He would fight John Jones. Who is allowing him to yap like this? Him calling out Khabib, John Jones and Islam is like me calling out Canelo. I would get battered. Now, it's clear what this guy's doing. He's getting people to talk about him, which he's done because I'm here talking about him. But the fact that you can be so delusional calling out these people, and he has been for so many years. So I just think it's funny that someone like this is able to get away with this. The interview ends with him just going on a rant about him defeating everyone in the UFC. It doesn't matter what division you are, this guy, he'll go up to that division just to defeat you. That's how much of a menace he is to society. Dillon Danis, I don't know what's going to happen with him. I think he's just going to fall off yet again. I think he's had his 10 seconds of fame. He's ruined his credibility from the boxing match, and I don't think anyone wants to sign him nor watch him, and therefore his career is probably cooked. By cooked, I mean dead. Alright, that's it from me. If you did enjoy, subscribe. I'll see you in the next. Goodbye.
I'll beat them all.